Here in Littlejohn Coliseum, the 2018 and 19 campaign continues for the Clemson Tigers. Tonight, a second straight battle against a team from the Big South Conference. The Charleston Southern Buccaneers have made their way from the Low Country to take on the Tigers. Hi, everybody, and welcome in with Kelly Gramlich, Pete Hannity with you. A Clemson team that got a fierce battle out of Radford on Saturday before the Tigers prevailed against the Highlanders. Radford, a team picked to win the Big South Conference. Charleston Southern, one of the more intriguing teams out of that league. They're picked in the middle of the pack. They're going to play 94 feet. That's what they've gone to this year. Should be a ball game where the Tigers are going to need to have some energy tonight.
They're a very young team, Charleston Southern is. They've lost 4 in a row. They're 0-5 on the road, but their coach says this team has a great attitude, a great work ethic. They might not always make the right play, but they play really hard. We'll
see a Charleston Southern team that's trying to get experience in a hurry. Their roster pretty much full of sophomores and freshmen, but they've gotten contributions out of many young players. Now they are getting great play once again out of a junior guard, Christian Keeling. He averaged 16 points as a freshman, 18 last year, and this year he is right around that 18 points per game mark.
He was voted to the preseason first team in the Big South. He's played 30 or more minutes in 9 of their 10 games, and he's obviously very productive when you look at his numbers. He also put up a triple-double this year, Pete, against Coppin State. 20 points, 12 assists, 11 rebounds. He does it all for the Buccaneers.
We won't be surprised if at some point tonight we see 4 guards on the floor at one time for the Buccaneers. We'll certainly see 3 at a time. Keeling, one of those the Tigers will keep an eye on. But speaking of backcourt play, with Marquise Reed about to miss yet another ball game because of that knee issue, the Tigers hoping that a couple of guys, a sophomore and a freshman, can continue to step up in their roles on the team in that backcourt.
Clyde Trapp, the sophomore, John Newman, the freshman. John Newman got the start against Mississippi State, but Clyde Trapp has started lately for Clemson, and he played really well against Radford. 11 points for him, 2 threes. Clemson's guards are going to have to handle that pressure from Charleston Southern, and they're going to rely on these 2 young guys in Clyde Trapp and John Newman.
Poise will be crucial out of that backcourt. Charleston Southern second in the nation in forcing turnovers so far this season. They've made the opponent give it up 21.3 times. So, yeah, guys like Newman and Trapp and others will have to be careful and value the basketball. Our head coaches tonight, Barclay Radebaugh. His 128 wins, the most ever for a head coach at Charleston Southern University in his 14th season, and a fellow with deep ties to coaching the Palmetto State and the Carolinas. Several stops in both South and North Carolina during his career, his 15th year as a head coach. And Radebaugh tonight trying to come in and get a big-time win for his program, which starts tonight 4-6. Brad Brownell, we told you at the end of that win Saturday against Radford, he tied Bill Foster for second all-time in wins at Clemson with 156, so a chance with a victory tonight to move into second place all by himself. Tigers and Charleston Southern about to meet for the 19th time. Charleston Southern, the former Baptist College, and a couple of big things happened for that school. Located just outside of the Holy City back in the early 90s, they changed their name and they added football. Here they are now, nearly 30 years as Charleston Southern. Tigers win the opening tip. Again, a short bench for the Clemson team with Marquise Reed out. There was some hope that perhaps Malik William, the sophomore Orlando, Florida native, could debut tonight this season for the Tigers in his second year in the program, but we will wait and see on that. Early bucket inside, and that's where the Tigers will try to live this evening offensively.
Great sign for Clemson early to get Amir Sims involved, especially in the paint. You need Sims to be in double figures if you're Clemson.
Tigers will focus on that guy right there, Christian Keeling, who we talked about in our open. Short jumper, Duncan Alexander, no, and out of bounds it goes over to the Tigers.
Take another look at this Amir Sims bucket. Good post-to-post passing between Eli Thomas and Amir Sims, and a solid finish with contact.
Charleston Southern has gone to this style, and the steal by Keeling and the finish by the junior guard out of Augusta Laney High School. He's their top player in steals. That's his 18th of the year, and just like that, we're tied at 2.
The Buccaneers are going to press 94 feet. They've changed to this frantic style this season. They want to force a lot of turnovers.
David Scarr is the Tigers' top 3-point shooter this year. In fact, he's attempted more threes already this year than all of last season, but he misses on his first try of the night. Barclay Radebaugh said he was tired of going 13-17 and 14-16, so this year they've committed to changing to a full court style. And the ball knocked away that time. Lost on the dribble by McConaughey. Breaking are the Tigers, and Sims losing it out of bounds. It'll stay in this end. And so the Charleston Southern staff visited with West Virginia and Texas to learn this style during the offseason.
They want to press, they want to get after you, they want to use their guards because they can't generally recruit some of those top 175 guys, as Coach Radebaugh was telling us, but they can recruit quick, fast guards, smaller guys that can pressure their opponents and force turnovers. So he's gone to this style, and he seems to be very encouraged by it so far.
Clyde Trapp getting another start. Thomas working inside to the bucket and one. Sedarius Bowser, one of the many freshmen that the Buccaneers rely on, out of Gaffney, where he was a star at Gaffney High, and he commits the first foul in the ballgame.
Another great pass inside, that time from David Scarra to Eli Thomas, and a good finish. I imagine Charleston Southern will try to double Thomas throughout tonight, but they couldn't get there in time as Thomas made a quick move.
Elijah Thomas off to a good start, and he'll knock down the free throw. And so the inside players for the Tigers, Thomas and Sims, with all 5 of their points so far, and a 5-2 Clemson lead. Deontay Buskey runs the point for this team. Now this is Keeling. Buskey, we're going to reach in foul on the floor. Clyde Trapp committing his first.
Here's that foul on Clyde Trapp. Just calling some body there, some hand checking on Trapp, and that's something to monitor because no Marquise Reed tonight for Clemson. There is a lack of depth on the bench at guard. We see John Newman come in for Clyde Trapp. There's not many guys that Coach Brownell can go to, so these guards have to stay out of foul trouble.
You see Marquise Reed, good crew tonight. Roger Ayers leading our officiating staff tonight. A lot of NCAA tournament experience in our officiating crew. High pass taken down by Buskey. Scarra has a size advantage. Might have gotten a hand on that attempt by Buskey. Look at Thomas handle the ball in transition. Newman. And he stepped out of bounds. Tigers turn it over. Clemson giving it up per game about 12.5 times. And Charleston Southern, something they do well because of that press, they force a lot of turnovers, as we've talked about.
They force over 21 turnovers a game. Last time out against North Florida, they forced 27 turnovers. They got many more shot attempts than North Florida, but they just couldn't convert. They have to focus on really capitalizing on those turnovers. That's what Coach Radebaugh was emphasizing to us.
Looks like Buskey changed his pivot foot there, but no whistle on the play. Buccaneers who try to play fast, they rely on Keeling, and he almost got it to rattle in off the glass, but that one no good for the leading scorer of the Bucks. Buccaneers team that, sure, they've got the 6'9" Bowser in the middle, but very small ball club all around. And a timeout was asked for, but not granted. It's a held ball as Keeling did not get the timeout, even though he was motioning for it.
And we've mentioned these young Clemson guards, they have to take care of the basketball. And that time, John Newman dribbling into the middle of the paint, drawing a double team, and losing the ball. That's got to be a point of emphasis for Clemson's guards tonight.
So the arrow giving it back to the Buccaneers. And the backdoor try that time, and a good job by Eli Thomas, who entered the ball game with 5 steals. Not a bad idea on the pass try by Bowser, but Thomas took it away. Eli crossing over down the lane, off no good. Might have gotten away with an extra step there anyway, so here comes Charleston Southern pushing the pace. Feed to Lysander. Over Thomas, no. Crashing the boards. Sims couldn't hold on. Bowser back up with it, and he has it rejected, and Scarra comes away with it.
And we know Charleston Southern, they want to push the pace. They want to get up a lot of shots. Rebounding, not letting Charleston Southern get second chance opportunities. That's going to be big for Clemson as well.
Mitchell trying to continue a good scoring day from the Radford game. Couldn't get it. And the foul will go against the sophomore out of Daphne, Alabama, Deontay Buskey, for the Buccaneers of Charleston. Breaking the action here in Littlejohn Coliseum. Tigers with the early 5-2 advantage.
What was that initial conversation like with Coach Burnell when you say you want to come back?
He was very excited, actually. He was very excited, and I wasn't sure what his reaction was going to be, but he was very excited, and he said, "David, I want you back."
An excerpt of an interview we'll have in total for you at halftime. Ashley Hodge visiting with David Scarra. Our friend Tim Bray says David Scarra is the early candidate for most improved player on this Clemson team.
I would say so. He's really stepped up his game offensively against Radford. He had 16 points. He was 6 for 9 from the field, hit 2 threes. And the first time we played that piece, the Scarra interview, went for 16 points. So I think that helps Scarra, no doubt on the broadcast.
Good karma for him. You're subbing in Hunter Tyson, who has the ball on the left wing. Driving inside, Thomas hits the floor hard. Scarra cleaning up.
And that's been a big part of Scarra's game offensively. Of course, he's hitting the three better, and he's playing better overall, but he's grabbing offensive rebounds and creating more opportunities for himself.
Tigers drove the lead to 5 here in the early going. So you talk about David Scarra on TV, he delivers in real life. Dontrell Schuler, a freshman out of Columbia, who actually played his high school basketball at the tail end of his career in Greenville, has checked in, and so has Ty Jones, who just gave it off in the corner, knocking it down for Keeling. But look at Jones, very athletic at 6'6" and 215 at Pontotoc, Mississippi. Buccaneers with a fresh shot clock.
Clemson has forced Charleston Southern to run a set, to run their offense. That's not how they really want to play. I think Clemson has made Charleston Southern a bit uncomfortable in the early going.
Whistle away from the ball as the pass went out on the wing, and let's see. Foul going to be called inside. And it is going to be a charge.
And well done there by Shelton Mitchell. He's outside that restricted area, the little half circle in the paint. He had his feet set pretty much 5 seconds before the play even happened. So a great heads-up play by Shelton Mitchell.
Sean Price picking up his first personal. He just checked in as Barkley Radeball able to use a pretty deep bench. Buccaneers have a much deeper bench than the Tigers. You see at the bottom of your screen near midcourt. Javen White has checked in. And again, we noted Malik William, who hasn't played at all this season after seeing plenty of action as a freshman, the sophomore out of Orlando, Florida. Brad Brownell, before the game, was noting that he was going to check with the athletic trainer. William is dressed tonight, and I believe that's the first time in a ball game this year he's actually been in his game uniform, but he's coming back from some medical issues. David Scarra, long obviously at 6'8", and has to be able to do this, help clean up on the offensive glass.
He does, especially when he's playing either the 3 or the 4. Sometimes Sims is the 4. They can really switch off playing the 3 or the 4. They have to help out rebounding. When you have one true big in the game like Eli Thomas, you have to get some contributions from those other guys.
Tigers looking to break the pressure. They worked on this in the brief time they had between the Radford game and this, and now we've got a double dribble in the backcourt as pressure came. And Shelton Mitchell and crew turning it over. But it can be very effective. And Clemson fans a while back saw this as a regular component of what Oliver Purnell did when he was coaching here.
I thought it was interesting in our pregame chat with Coach Radeball for Charleston Southern. He did reference Coach Purnell and the style that he played, the 94 feet style that Clemson used to play, as some tape that he studied. And he's tried to model this style after that.
James Mays was a big part of that, but Trevor Booker at midcourt being able to clean up those deflections was also a huge part of that strategy for a couple of seasons that he and Mays played together. Mitchell looking to restore some order after the Tigers broke the pressure. And Mitchell, a little look off to the bucket he goes. Let's see if they'll count it. And it'll be a blocking foul, and Christian Keeling rung up for the personal.
Christian Keeling obviously looking for the charge on that previous play. Here's the turnover by Keeling as Shelton Mitchell gets on the floor, and then he attacks the basket. Keeling was just moving, barely on that charge. If you contrast that play with the Mitchell play previously, you can see Mitchell was completely still, had his feet set. That's how you take a charge. Keeling just moving his feet the slightest bit.
Mitchell 80% of the season. Tigers grow the lead to 8 points.
Charleston Southern really struggling from the floor, just 1 for 7.
Step back, fade away, not a high percentage shot, but it goes for Dontrell Schuler. He averages 10.9 a game in his freshman season. This comes in off a 20-point performance in their loss over the weekend down in Jacksonville against North Florida. Tyson back out to Mitchell. Tigers will reset.
And this is what Charleston Southern wants to do. They pressure you to where you have to run your stuff with 15 seconds left on the shot clock, and you feel forced.
Skara, a little spin move over Schuler, no, and off the floor. The rebound taken by Keeling. Jones out high. Long one on the way. Not going to go down that time for Schuler, but the long rebound run down by the very scrappy Jones. Boy, he's added a lot of energy since he checked in. Keeling. And he drains the tray. They'll shoot a lot of those. They average 27 three-point attempts a game. They're in the top 55 in the nation in that regard. And Keeling just 29% from beyond the arc. But if you shoot enough, you're going to score enough, and it's going to make it worth it.
And that's how important offensive rebounds are, because it leads to a new possession. And that's how Charleston Southern gets so many shots off.
5-0 run by the Bucks. They've cut into what was an 8-point Clemson advantage. Backdoor feed underneath and knocked away initially on the try by Tyson. Count it, and he's fouled.
Freshman to freshman, John Newman hitting Hunter Tyson on the backdoor cut, and a good second effort by Hunter Tyson to finish with contact. And here's that step back from Schuler. Nothing but net for the freshman there. So a couple of freshmen making plays here in this game. Hunter Tyson absorbs that contact, goes back up with it, and gets the and one.
Tyson 63% this season from the line in limited trips. Did not score Saturday against Radford. Had 2 in the loss the week before against Mississippi State. And we've got a lane violation. It's going to go against Charleston Southern. Sedarius Bowers getting in too quickly. So another opportunity for Tyson.
Those are the kind of mistakes that Charleston Southern, you just scratch your head when you watch that on film. You're playing at Clemson. The Clemson player Hunter Tyson misses a free throw, and you give him another chance.
And that one knocked down, so that is a 3rd and 1 for Clemson, and the Tigers able to convert. 3 points in the game now for Hunter Tyson. Back out to a 6-point lead. Errant pass. I don't know necessarily if Duncan Lysander was expecting it. It goes off his hand, and the turnover. So we mentioned the Oliver Purnell style earlier, and a guy who served under Oliver Purnell when he was a student at Clemson, one Thomas Butters, who has some very interesting connections to the game of basketball. We'll touch on that a little bit later, but Clemson connection in the house tonight on the Charleston Southern bench.
And Radabah said they studied Shaka Smart as well, so another Clemson connection.
Rebound off the miss by Tyson. And here comes Charleston Southern. Buskey, Dante Buskey, their point guard, but actually it's Keeling who leads their team in assists while also leading them in scoring. That's Keeling with the ball. Oh, he got in the air and he came down with the basketball still in hand. A matter of not knowing what he was going to do. Interesting anomaly going on here for you TV geeks. We took the under 16 at 16 straight up. We'll take the under 12 now at 12 exactly on the clock.
Let's go inside the play on that last Charleston Southern turnover. You see Christian Keeling here. He attacks the basket. He gets a good first step on Tyson, but he gets right in the lane and he does what we call a kickstand. He just starts pivoting. He has no outlet here. None of his guys are open. He doesn't know what to do with the ball, and Clemson's in deny. Good denial from John Newman here. He ends up traveling and turning the ball over. And Pete, you have to credit Coach Brownell. He told us in the pregame interview that Christian Keeling likes to get in the lane and kickstand, meaning he pivots, doesn't know where to go with the ball. You know Coach watches some film when he knows that tendency from Christian Keeling.
Duncan Lysander providing the distraction, and that's what can happen. Hunter Tyson throwing it away as Shelton Mitchell unable to pull it down, and this is what they do, and that's why they're second in the nation behind only FIU in forced turnovers a game, 21.3. Tigers do a nice job forcing turnovers. They're at 13-9. A lot of teams would take that number, but 8 per game basically by Charleston Southern in that regard. Feed underneath, nice idea. It'll kick into the corner, and perhaps Samir Sims got a hand on that shot attempt by Lysander. Tigers will bring it the other way.
And we know an issue for Clemson this year has been three-point defense. I think the Tigers have run Charleston Southern off the three pretty well so far. The Bucks only with 3 attempts. They like to shoot nearly 30 threes a game.
Boy, we've seen a lot of that by Elijah Thomas. I think they're going to get the foul on the floor. They're going to count the bucket. They're going to go ahead and count it.
Eli Thomas has been much more willing to put the ball on the floor this season, especially in this game. I've noticed it already. He's attacking the basket. I think the big man thinks he's a guard.
Little NBA continuation maybe on that allowed by our official, but there's a personal foul rung up against the Largest of the players inside for this Charleston Southern team. Sedarius Bowser, that's 2 on him, 6 so far, and we're not even at the midway mark of the opening half on the Buccaneers, just 1 against the Tigers. And the Tigers have built their largest lead of the game at 9 points. Schuler, Mitchell recovered. McConaughey will set things up. Like Tyson got a hand on that one. 5 on the shot clock. From the corner, Lozander. Back up with it, and Thomas swats it away. Elijah Thomas. 12 blocks coming into the ball game on the season. Of course, a year ago he had nearly 80.
And that's why he was a member of the All-ACC defensive team last year, was his ability to block shots. Just contesting the ball at the very top of the jump there for Charleston Southern, and a good job by Eli Thomas to avoid the foul.
Look at the size advantage that Skara has on the 6'1" Buskey.
And that's why Charleston Southern has struggled a bit to make plays, because they attack middle a lot, but they don't have a lot of size. So when they attack middle, they get doubled, and they can't see their teammates around the perimeter.
Once again, under 10 on the shot clock. Schuler from the elbow. Thomas had an impact on that shot, and coming down with it, Hunter Tyson. Extended minutes for the Clemson forward. Tyson, the freshman out of Monroe, North Carolina. Skara, Tyson, now Mitchell. And Elijah Thomas took it away from Bowser.
Offensive rebounding has been huge for Clemson so far. They haven't shot the ball well from 3, but Clemson is shooting the ball really well inside the paint.
Thomas has scored 8 of the Tigers' 18 points. Blocking foul called on the baseline. Might have been a bailout as well for Travis McConaughey.
And you have to be ready on a 3. You have to know there could be long rebounds. Eli Thomas, that time, that would have been a long rebound if not for Eli Thomas's length. And he just goes up and grabs that ball.
Hunter Tyson picking up his first personal. Second on the Clemson team here in our opening half of play. Wholesale substituting going on for Charleston Southern, including the first time this evening we've seen Timmy Sellers. Another one of the players out of Augusta, another one of the freshmen on their team. Javen White back on the floor for Clemson.
They start 2 freshmen and they play a few others. This is a very young team. A lot of sophomores as well out there for Charleston Southern.
Saw Eli Thomas wincing as he went to the bench, and now getting some attention from the athletic trainer. Looks like he's okay. Keeling pulls up over Skara. Wow, Christian Keeling knocking that one down. He had just 10 in their loss to North Florida.
It's hard to articulate to the viewers at home how difficult of a shot that is. When you're giving up 5 or 6 inches and to just drill a 3 in David Skara's face, that's an impressive shot from Keeling.
Skara on the left wing, swings it in the corner. Newman firing his first attempt of the night. White battles for the rebound, and they're going to say that Javen White was the last to touch it.
Check out another look of this Christian Keeling 3. Obviously, you can see the size advantage Skara has. Keeling looks him off for a second, too. He looks at his teammate and then pulls up for the long-range 3.
Christian Keeling already over 1,000 points. Essentially did that in 2 years at Charleston Southern. So obviously an opportunity for him to get to 2,000 in his career, or at least close to it. Already has 8 of their 10 points. Backing in Jones on Skara. And Mitchell with the deflection coming his way. Good find of Trap. Unable to convert, rattles off, and White didn't do Skara any favors in that one. Newman thought that he had knocked it off the body of Jones, but it'll go Charleston Southern's way.
Clemson's doing a great job so far of making the extra pass on the perimeter. The Tigers are getting a lot of good looks from 3, but they're 0 for 6, a few in and outs. Those will fall, but they are moving the ball really well on the perimeter.
Conoco, the only senior in their rotation. We haven't mentioned the name Philandros Fleming, who was the fine freshman a year ago, runner-up for Big South Freshman of the Year. He's been out with an injury. They hope he can come back soon. Played in the Pan Am games and averaged 12 points a contest over the summer, but still battling back from a knee issue. But they're hoping he'll be ready at least for Big South Conference play at the turn of the new year.
He was their second leading scorer last year, and he came on very strong in the latter part of the season. So no Fleming for Charleston Southern. Of course, no Reed for Clemson. So neither team really at full strength right now.
Inbound will come with 20 on the shot clock. Tigers had an 11-point lead just moments ago, their biggest of the night. McConaughey. 4 on the shot clock. Schuler. And it'll be 3 free throws upcoming. Clyde Trapp committing the personal foul. That'll be his second. You know, it's interesting, for as tenacious as they're trying to be in the defensive end, they're very tentative on the offensive end and very slow-paced, if you will. And that time, Trapp a little bit too much.
And I think this is an example of, Clemson's been emphasizing three-point defense, and you've got to get out, you've got to contest, run these guys off the three. And Clyde Trapp was trying to get in Schuler's face, but just one step too much and fouls him on a three, which is a frustrating thing to do. And I think the biggest development here is that Clyde Trapp now has 2 fouls, and that's something to watch in terms of Clemson's guard rotation.
Off a season high in his first year in the program, 20-point effort against North Florida on Saturday down in Jacksonville. Schuler looking to knock down another free throw right here and pull his team within a half dozen. First meeting between these two since the early days of Barclay Radebaugh's run as the head coach of Charleston Southern, the 06-07 season. First series meeting coming back in the mid-70s, 75-76, and again the aforementioned Baptist College, the predecessor to the name Charleston Southern. Interestingly, this program has been D1 for a really long time. As Baptist College in the 70s, they were that unique low mid-major to make the jump to Division I, along with schools like Campbell and Radford, and eventually that's why that was the nucleus to start the Big South Conference. That fella right there is simply big playing in the South. Elijah Thomas, a double-figure night. He'll head back to the line.
Eli Thomas simply imposing his will and his size on Charleston Southern. You saw Bowser tried to take a charge. No call coming there. And that is Clemson's 5th three-point play opportunity so far. Tigers have yet to make a 3, but if you can get 3 points scoring in the paint, that's just as good.
They got McConaughey on the foul, rolls off no, and I believe Scara got a little bump, and actually it was a foul call. I thought it was a Scara getting a fingertip on the ball while in the cylinder, but Scara, as Roger Ayers deftly and concisely explained to the scorer's table, barely touched him. Roger Ayers actually said he barely touched him, but touched him he did. So a 15 foul on Clemson, 7 in the opening half on Radford, and for David Scara picking up the personal foul, and that'll be his first in the game.
As a player, that's a bit frustrating. You're telling me I barely touched him, but you're going to give me a foul?
I don't know if I've ever heard a official be as explicit in terms of the explanation, but as concise as Roger Ayers was. Just under 8 to play in the opening half. Buccaneers trying to hang around, playing their third Power 7 opponent this season. And with a guy like Christian Keeling hanging around is what they can do. He knocks down another tray, and while Elijah Thomas is in double figures with 10, Keeling leads all scorers now with 11. Sims, a double team with the sideline to help out defensively, finds Scara somehow. Thomas.
Great job by David Scara. That's a no-brainer right there. David Scara, draw and dish to Eli Thomas. Whenever you have leverage, you got to give the ball to Eli Thomas. That was a smart play by Scara.
Lead back out to 7. McConaughey finds the open man in the corner. Sellers no. McConaughey battling for the rebound. They'll get him coming over the back. And Travis McConaughey will pick up another foul. Elijah Thomas and the Clemson Tigers, a 7-point lead. 7:07 to play here in Littlejohn at the opening half.
Sometimes the best way to use a ball screen is to not use it. This time Christian Keeling refuses the ball screen and gets an open look. Both Clemson defenders were shading to the left, thinking Keeling was going to use the screen. He said no thanks and knocked down a 3.
Shows you just how good he is. Really good mid-major player out of Augusta Laney High School, the alma mater of one Rod Hall, the former Clemson guard, and the current Clemson women's guard, Aaliyah Collier. Meanwhile, Elijah Thomas, it's natural when you lose a great scorer like Marquise Reed for an extended period of time that someone steps up, and oftentimes it's someone at a different position, and Elijah Thomas, a good scorer anyway, but you can tell he's shouldered the burden here the past couple of games.
I think he's felt like he's had to step up more, and naturally so. And tonight, so far, 12 points for him and 5 rebounds. That's key. He generally hovers near that 10-rebound mark. He's averaging 7.5. But he's created a lot of his own offense tonight by grabbing offensive rebounds and getting putbacks.
Making sure that things were in order were a couple of our officials. Terry Reimer and Ron Groover. Thomas, missing badly on that. Eli's been bringing the free throw shooting up, 71% when the night began. And now 2 out of 4.
He shot the ball a lot better from the free throw line. That was an anomaly. I think sometimes coming out of the timeout, you feel a little cold and you feel a little off. But still, an air ball is surprising.
I found it odd ever since they changed the rule where they could take the media timeout with a free throw shooter still having to go to the line, because initially they wouldn't do that, but I think that's had an impact on the game.
It definitely does not help the shooter.
No, McConaughey and Mitchell steps right in front of it. Shelton Mitchell coming in with 13 steals to lead the Tigers, and feeding Sims, who finishes. Amir Sims, a couple of field goals right in front of the hoop. Tigers back up by 9.
Coach Brownell has urged Shelton Mitchell to push the ball more, and that was a great example of that, and a good find to the trailing Sims.
Crossover by Schuler, and he'll get hacked on the arm on his way to the hooper, rather by Keeling.
And here's that steal by Shelton Mitchell, just picking off the pass, an interception, if you will, and then a good pass. Really in his peripheral, he saw that, because Amir Sims was coming up from behind him, and that was a great look.
Keeling 86% from the line this year. His first trip tonight. Buccaneers 2 out of 3 on free throws. Tigers 4 out of 6. And he gets the roll. And the thing you like about Keeling, not only leading their team with nearly 18 points and leading them in assists with just over 4 a game, but he's second on their team in rebounds, 5.4 a game. And a couple of ball games ago, when they hung around at nationally ranked Furman before they fell by 8 points, he not only scored in double figures with 10, but he had 10 rebounds in that game. And he brings his team within 7 once again. Star breaking pressure. Tigers doing a good job. And then Thomas went gentle instead of thunder, and adding to his point total. Big first half for Elijah Thomas. He now has 14 points. Tigers back in front by 9.
Clemson has been exceptional in transition so far, and they're making the right decision in almost every 3-on-2 situation.
Like Keeling was trying to induce contact that time, but Newman wouldn't bite. Four on the shot clock. Here's Schuler across the lane. Gentle touch, good finish. With 2 seconds remaining on that shot clock.
Schuler is the only guy not named Christian Keeling to score so far for Charleston Southern.
From way outside, Mitchell caught the front of the rim, foul on the floor. And I believe that's going to be the third, and it is, on Cedarius Bowser, the 6'9", 220-pound freshman out of Gaffney. So he will be heading to the bench for the remainder of the first half. 5:18 to go. Nice play by Schuler going inside with time running out of the shot clock.
And avoiding Shelton Mitchell. Mitchell was trying to take a charge. He took one step around and avoided that charge. And this is now an issue for Charleston Southern. Without Fleming, they lose some of their depth. Their rotation changes a bit. And I think bringing in Sellers, the freshman, Bowser's also a freshman, so they're very thin inside with their big guys.
Elijah Thomas trying to add to his scoring night. He has 14 to lead all scorers so far.
And that's how basketball works. You air ball one, you make the other.
One more foul puts the Tigers in the double bonus for the remainder of this half. One more foul by Charleston Southern. For Shelton Mitchell, every time he makes an attempt, it's going to be a big one, because with 3 points tonight, he has moved on the precipice of 1,000 in his collegiate career, which began at Vanderbilt. Off a 20-point game against Radford. Came in tonight 5 shy. That guy right there long ago passed 1,000 points. And boy, Christian Keeling living up to the pregame billing. Back to a 6-point game. Newman hung up, able to get it away. To the bucket he goes, and what a nice way to reach 1,000 for Shelton Mitchell. as he's able to get points 4 and 5, puts the Tigers back up by 8, and a milestone now for Mitchell.
What a move by Mitchell to in the air to change and finish with his offhand, the right hand.
It was right around now a year ago, in fact, as Schuler that time knocks it down. So that tandem, Keeling and Schuler, continue to score. That at-bat basket, I believe it was the game against Louisiana Lafayette, and look it by himself, and that's what you do as Thomas throws it home, and he matches his season high of 18 points against Mississippi State and leads Barclay Radebow to call a timeout. Dante Grantham a year ago, right around now, got to 1,000 in his career, and on that very end of the court, Shelton Mitchell able to put it up and in. So a timeout on the court. We'll take one too. Tigers lead by 8 here in Littlejohn. With Kelly Gramlich, Pete Hannity with you back in Littlejohn Coliseum. Tigers lead by 8 and a night that includes a milestone.
Shelton Mitchell just reached 1,000 points in his career with that layup right there. A nice up and under move for the graduate student guard. And he has saved his best for last in many regards, having his best offensive season so far, averaging 14.5 points per game. And there you see the breakdown of where his points came each season.
Mitchell part of a Clemson roster that's among the top 10 of the nation in terms of active rosters and points scored in their careers, over 4,000 for the collection of Clemson players on the team in this 18 and 19 campaign. And Shelton Mitchell, of course, with his friend Marquise Reed, ailing right now with that knee sprain that Brad Brownell said before the game that Reed's continue to do some drills and working back, and the hope is to have him back sooner than later. But Mitchell, like Elijah Thomas, has had to certainly shoulder more of the burden. Keeling getting the attention of Newman. Pass inside through the hands of Sellers, and the scramble comes out to Thomas. Here come the Tigers.
The Buccaneers have done a good job of getting back. Clemson has forced a couple turnovers, but really hasn't been able to get out in transition.
And dragging his foot was Scar. The travel is called. And give credit to the defense that time by Sellers and also Lysander.
And they'll trap not just in a pressing situation, but in that situation in a half-court set. Charleston Southern will bring the trap. They try to be as aggressive as possible on defense.
Told you the Buccaneers playing their third Power 7 this year. They've taken on an SEC foe, Florida. That was their opener. Also went up and played Marquette and Milwaukee out of the Big East. In those two games, Barclay Radebow decided not to play the 94-feet defense. In that case, the half-court defense for the Tigers steps up, but he said, I should have just tried it. So it's the first time he's playing a team at the next level, so to speak, in which he's trying to go with what they've adopted as their style. And he says they're not turning back. This is going to be it moving forward.
And it's worked to a certain extent in that they forced 6 Clemson turnovers, but the issue for the Buccaneers really, and there's Keeling again with a dagger.
With a 6'5" Newman right on his shoe top.
Good grief. Charleston Southern does have to cut down on their turnovers, though. They turned the ball over 9 times. I think that's been the main issue for them. But Keeling, wow, with 19 points so far, and we're still in this first half.
And the feed went underneath to Elijah Thomas. And a 10-second violation called against Clemson. Brad Brownell can't believe it. Deontay Buskey checks back in. Christian Keeling again. That is a 6'5" John Newman in front of him.
He does not care. He has no regard for who's guarding him. That doesn't matter. He is so great pulling up off of one dribble and knocking down a 3, and he's put on a show so far.
Keeling now 5 out of 5 beyond the arc, came in at 29%, a career high in made threes in a game for Keeling. From the corner this time, Lysander, he's had an off night shooting to say the least. And as we pointed out, just 2 players have scored so far for the Buccaneers, or else they'd be a little bit closer than 5 points down.
I'm not sure if I've called, maybe you have, Pete, because you've called a few more basketball games than me, but were you into half with just 2 players on a roster scoring? Charleston Southern is approaching that feat right now.
That time Buskey tried to step in. Shot clock under 10 for the Tigers. Mitchell off the crossover, line through the lane. Rebound Lysander. Charleston Southern get as close as they've been in a while. And losing the handle on the way up was Keeling, and he turns it over. Very old school. You know, back in the day, people always relish the fact that in the early 70s, one year you had 3 guys average better than 30 points a game in the same year. Maravich, Issel, and Rick Mount. But no one else would score. It was pretty much designed. The game plan was no shot clock, no three-pointer. Try to set the ball up for that one score. So perhaps back in the day, but over the past couple of decades, that's no longer the case. And then some, all the way back into really the early 80s, even before the clock and the three-pointer became universal in college hoops. Skara, contact. Offensive foul is called.
And who else but Christian Keeling making it happen on the defensive end as well.
2 on Skara, and whereas we told you that Roger Ayers explained the first one as gentle contact, that one was a no doubt.
And that time his feet were set. He's outside the restricted area. A great heads-up play by Keeling, and he had one foul when he took that charge. So he was taking a risk, setting his feet and trying to draw the offensive foul.
He heads to the bench. Just under 2 to play in our opening half of action. Tigers facing a Big South team for the second time in a row. Last touch by who? Well, they're going to say that Jones was the last to touch it. He can't believe it. And back over to the Tigers it goes. 2 Clemson players converge, but out of bounds off Jones. Says Roger Ayers, the veteran official. He's been doing it a real long time. Newman from behind, almost had it knocked away by Buskey. Tiger freshman will kick it back out to the grad student Mitchell.
Smart play by Newman. He didn't have numbers. Give it to your point guard and run a set.
Pulling up inside of the arc. What you don't like to see, a step in just inside of the arc. Why not step back? But a long 2 for Mitchell, back out to a 7-point advantage. Tigers have led by as many as 11 here in the opening half.
Mitchell does that about once a game. Just take one more step back and get one more extra point for your efforts.
McConaughey, defended by the freshman Tyson, shakes him, still can't get it to go. And McConaughey able to knock that one down. That was his first attempt of the night. And then a foul. And that's going to go against Lysander.
And here's what we were talking about. When you take a long 2 right inside the three-point line, as I say in basketball, the worst shot in this game is a long 2. Now, for Shelton Mitchell, you get back in your rhythm. It is a good shot. You put points on the board, I get that. But take one more step back and knock down that 3.
Elijah Thomas getting it done inside tonight, 18 points. He's well on his way to bettering his career high, which he established against Texas Southern last year when he had 26 points in that ball game. And Eli able to get the roll, and on the night, he is now 5 out of 7 from the line. Coming up at halftime, David Skara, we're going to hear his visit with Ashley Hodge, as he will talk about the fact that he was out the door only to return to this Clemson program for a final season, among other things. So join us at the break for that.
Skara with just 2 points right now, but 4 rebounds and 4 assists in this first half.
8-point game. See the attention that Newman is giving to Keeling. He now has the ball. Keeling goes right past Thomas, bumps into Newman, and offensive foul is the call.
We've seen a lot of charges taken in this first half, and Newman, he gets outside the circle. His feet were possibly still moving. I'm not sure about that, but he was outside the circle, and it was called a charge.
And the second foul of the game on Keeling. He has headed to the bench with 39 seconds to go.
He's done all he can for his team in this first half with 19 points.
Newman also getting a breather with Keeling going out. He probably welcomed that, as he has been dogging the leading scorer for Charleston Southern all game. Tyson into the front court after the Tigers break the pressure. And timeout is called by Brad Brownell, seeing the hang-up right there. First one used in the game by Clemson, 3 remaining. So with the timeout, now throughout the ball game, Tigers I think have done a really nice job of breaking the press. I can't recall a game this year where they've seen this much full court pressure.
I think they have handled the pressure well, and it's created a lot of 3-on-2 situations where Clemson has made the right decision, and you're putting a lot of responsibility on these young guards, Clyde Trapp and Hunter Tyson and John Newman, to handle the pressure. Newman with 2 turnovers so far. Shelton Mitchell has 2, Hunter Tyson just 1. So I think they have stepped up to the plate, and they've handled the pressure pretty well so far.
Elijah Thomas, 7 out of 10 tonight from the field, and over now a several game stretch, he is 39 for his last 52, and that's doing what the big man should do. You feed him inside and he will eat.
That's incredible. And Eli Thomas has his field goal percentage is near 70% at this point in the season. And you might say, well, he gets a lot of shots near the basket, but he's also going up against 6'10 guys who are trying to block that shot. He's finished with contact really well in these last couple games.
Mitchell's played 18 minutes in this opening half, feeding underneath to Trapp. That speaks to the fact Tigers need to keep their best ball handler on the floor. But a turnover that time forced by Charleston Southern. About 10 seconds to cut into this 8-point deficit. The other guy who scored for them, Schuler, to the bucket as he went around Thomas. No, and that's how we will come to an end here in the opening half of play. Not sure that would have counted had it gone on the heave by Hunter Tyson. Charleston Southern out of the Big South Barclay Raider ball. You see some frustration out of their head coach. Tigers will head to the locker room knowing that on the season they are perfect in 6 prior games when they've had the lead at the break. Charleston Southern 0-5 when trailing at the half this year. From the time they ignited the flames, the Tigers have gotten hot as this ball game has progressed.
And Pete, we achieved our feat. Only 2 Charleston Southern players scored for the Buccaneers in that first half, Schuler and Keeling.
Clemson trying to make it 19 wins in as many meetings all time in the series with an 8-point lead here at the half. Halftime winding down in Littlejohn Coliseum. Tigers lead by 8. Those students doing their part to help the cause as finals are now in the rearview mirror. And we welcome you back into Littlejohn Coliseum. Pete Kennedy, Kelly Gramlich with you. Tigers lead by 8. The 2 leading scorers in this game have each scored 19 apiece, 1 for each side. We've been impressed on each end. And again, it's been a different way that the 2 teams have seen their leading scorer get to the point total they have. Starting in the backcourt with the Buccaneers.
It's been all about Christian Keeling for Charleston Southern. He has 19 of their 27 points, and he's done it from all over the floor. He does have 5 threes, so that's obviously added to his total, but he's also scored inside. He's gotten to the free throw line, and some of these threes he's knocked down against bigger defenders have just been flat out impressive. He looks off David Scarra for a second on that one and launches the deep 3. And Clemson defensively has been solid as well. They've forced 12 Charleston Southern turnovers. They have 10 points off of those turnovers. A lot of deflections, getting steals, and getting out in transition. And that's been a point of emphasis for Coach Brownell. He wants Shelton Mitchell to push it. Get out in transition. Let's create some 3-on-2 situations. And Clemson has done that. As you see here, this is a perfect example of Shelton Mitchell making the right play, making the smart decision, and hitting Amir Sims for the easy 2.
Elijah Thomas, his career high 26 points. He's 7 shy of that with 1/2 of work.
Eli Thomas has been exceptional as well for the Tigers in that first half, and he's dominated. He's had the size advantage on almost anybody that Charleston Southern's thrown at him. He's grabbed offensive rebounds. He's gotten putbacks, a ton of and ones. He's even put the ball on the floor a little bit. We haven't seen that much from Eli Thomas, but that might be the most complete 1/2 of basketball we've seen Eli Thomas play in a Clemson uniform.
Eli Thomas just to the right of David Scarra, who we featured at halftime. And for the good ball handling you mentioned Shelton Mitchell has done, it is Scarra who leads the way with 4 assists in the opening half. And what a benefit that is when you've got a guy at 6'8" who can do that. Meanwhile, for Christian Keeling and the Charleston Southern Buccaneers coming in at 4-6, trying to get their first ever win against Clemson. They've got to figure out a way to at least get some effective scoring out of others on the roster and do some work if they can in the lane.
And you mentioned assists. Charleston Southern did not record a single assist in that first half. They played a lot of one-on-one basketball, and it worked for Christian Keeling, but I'm not sure how sustainable that is.
Tigers working at baseline. Good ball movement. Mitchell, and he wiggles that one home. Shelton Mitchell starts out the scoring in the second half with a 3-pointer. The first made 3 of the game in 8 attempts by the Clemson squad.
He was 0 for 3 heading into that attempt, and like we said, Clemson has struggled from 3, but they've made up for it in the paint.
McConaughey unable to get that one to go and even catching the rim. Tigers matching their largest lead of the game. Sims now makes it the biggest. Strumming the guitar after he drains the tray. Clemson by 14 points. Barclay Radebaugh promptly off the bench. He'll use the timeout. A Clemson team that has built the advantage beyond its previous high of 11 points here in Littlejohn.
Clemson has moved the ball well all night, but they just haven't been able to knock down shots, and Shelton Mitchell took the lid off the basket for the Tigers in the early going in this second half. Amir Sims knocks down another one. A quick 6-0 run for the Tigers in this second half.
Tigers 31% beyond the arc on the season, but of late that number's been pulled down. And you see the assists so far, and you astutely mentioned, how often do you hear coaches talk after a game about how many field goals they had in assists? Well, for Barclay Radebaugh and Charleston Southern, a goose egg in that column so far, and it's one of the reasons they're down by 14. Really, a carry by Buskey got away with it. Bowser in foul trouble in the opening half, can't get the jumper to go. Freshman out of Gaffney missing that. You saw Trapp's rebound. Here's Skara. David Skara, a little mid-range action from him from the baseline.
And Clemson has yet to miss a shot so far in this second half. 3 for 3. When it rains, it pours. You get that first one to go, and everyone's feeling good so far for Clemson.
Largest lead of the game for the Tigers grows to 16. Buskey from the elbow. No, but there's Bowser in front. Thomas, another rejection, then he's fouled.
Another block for Eli Thomas. Strong defensive showing inside.
So this time, Shelton Mitchell, the one who gets the assist.
Clemson is definitely assisting much better than Charleston Southern so far, and sharing the ball in the open court, turning their turnovers into transition opportunities, and a good pass by Shelton Mitchell.
Amir Sims looking like the guy who was able to have that big game from beyond the arc against Mississippi State when he was 4 out of 9. He's picking up the pace scoring-wise in the second half, and he's the second Tiger in double figures. 10 points, and he's perfect from the field and beyond the arc so far. 4 out of 4 on field goals, 2 out of 2 on his threes.
Clemson now shooting 60% from the floor as a team.
Buskey out in front. Rattles off, no. Buccaneers had 27 points at the break, and 2.5 minutes or so into the second half, they can't dent the scoreboard, and Amir Sims has caught fire. He's doing from the outside what Elijah Thomas did inside in the opening half.
Amir Sims has just knocked down 3 threes in 2 minutes. 2 minutes and 15 seconds. That's incredible. Amir Sims, like you said, on fire.
Sims 37% beyond the arc coming into the game, second on the team behind Skara. And you wonder, well, what about Marquise Reed? We know he's hurt, but Reed just shooting 27% on threes so far. He'll likely pick that up when he comes back healthy. But he and Mitchell both will be looking for better numbers beyond the arc. Shelton Mitchell 31% when the night began. Reed is now at 18. Schuler. Lozander. With Thomas in front of him, and Sims as well. And last touch by the Tigers.
That previous play, another example of Charleston Southern attacking the middle, getting into the paint, picking up their dribble, and not knowing what to do with it. I think that Coach Radebaugh teaches attack middle. There's a lot of coaches that will teach or prefer you to attack baseline. They say attack middle and look for your options, but Clemson's been so good denying the pass when Charleston Southern has attacked the middle of the paint.
Ty Jones to inbound. When he came in the opening half, I thought he brought a lot of energy, Barclay Radebaugh. Certainly hoping he can help change things here in the early stages of the second half as the Tigers turned what has been a relatively close game in the opening half into a blowout. Schuler got in the air, and Trapp makes him pay. Sims! Wow, a little tomahawk action out of the Tiger sophomore.
Amir Sims was eyeing that rim the second that steal happened. Didn't even need a dribble, took 2 steps and slammed it home.
The lead swells for Clemson. Tigers have started this half on a 16-0 run, and that one's knocked away. Here comes Trapp. Thomas! Second time since the break that Barclay Radebaugh has been forced to use a timeout, and we have not even reached the under 16. But the Charleston Southern coach, who told us tonight, we're going to stay with our brand. We may get blown out, but we're going to be a pressing team. The trouble is, you've also got to be able to turn some of those steals into points, and he also mentions his team way down percentage-wise based on the amount of steals they get to how they should be scoring. On the other end, Elijah Thomas has certainly benefited from the size advantage tonight and let his talent do the talking.
Eli Thomas has done it all for Clemson, but part of why he's been so successful so far in this game, offensive rebounds and defensive rebounds. He's been rebounding the ball so well. Also running the floor. The big man running the floor, getting out in transition, and pumped up with Clemson in this second half. The Tigers currently on an 18-0 run in this second half of play. And like you said, Pete, we haven't even played 4 minutes of basketball yet.
You know, you see the feistiness, you see the exuberance in the face of Eli Thomas in that celebration. It reminds me a lot of a guy named Christian Wilkins, who plays a little football here, but Christian Wilkins in an interview earlier today told me that, hey, he's a basketball guy too. He was really good in high school, played AAU, and he says he'd come over to the gym, and according to Christian Wilkins, he's helped toughen Eli Thomas up since he arrived on the Clemson campus.
Pete, I'll tell you one thing about football players. They all think they're basketball players. There's no doubt about that.
And that time, Keeling feeding inside. Good job by Thomas initially. Schuler wildly gets to his teammate, almost threw it away. Keeling 19 points in the first half, hasn't been heard from here in the second half. Feed inside, Bowser knocked away by Newman, and will get a foul on the way up. And they will get either Scar or Sims, and we will get that clarified as it's on Amir Sims. That's his second timeout on the court. Tigers rolling here early in the second half in Littlejohn. There are some of the football players. Amir Sims perfect from the field tonight, having himself quite a second half.
11 points so far for Amir Sims in 4 minutes in this second half. 3 threes. He's knocked down some big threes, giving us a little guitar after those big threes. And he's caught fire so far for Clemson. He's really sparked this run for the Tigers. An 18-0 run in the second half and a 21-0 run if you count the very end of the first half.
6 out of 6 from the field overall for Sims. Tigers cold beyond the arc in the opening half, and courtesy of Sims and also Shelton Mitchell, perfect in 4 3-point tries. Jones on the line for the free throw, knocks down the first. He's now 10 out of 13 on the season. The first point scored in the second half for Charleston Southern. And cuts into what was a 26-point Tiger lead. Full court pressure after the make, knocked away. Jones the steal. That's the energy they hoped he'd give. He gets it back. Trap defends. Jones trying to feed it. Probably made one pass he shouldn't have, and a good job by Newman to get it back for Clemson.
And that's been the issue for Charleston Southern. I think their style defensively has been effective. They force turnovers, but they haven't been able to capitalize off those turnovers. They just have 2 points off of Clemson's turnovers. Jones
almost coming up with another steal. And driving inside, the Tiger freshman Hunter Tyson with another bucket.
A strong finish inside for the freshman, absorbing contact and getting the ball to go.
Price around the Tiger Tyson.
And that time Tyson went for the steal. He was one step too far in the passing lane, and a good job by Price to make him pay.
First field goal in the second half. Newman tied up, gives the trap. Tigers actually had a 10-second violation called against him in the opening half. That time Schuler a little bit too aggressive, his second personal.
And here's Hunter Tyson attacking left, hanging in the air a bit, absorbing that contact. And a good play by the freshman.
Hunter Tyson handling the inbound duties out of Monroe, North Carolina. Number 5 for the Tigers, picked Clemson over Michigan and Davidson, as well as Tennessee and Wake Forest. So some pretty good company in his living room along with the Tigers when he was being recruited. Double team comes, and give credit to Keeling for getting a hand on that into the front court. And Keeling lost the handle, knocked out of bounds by Newman.
And again, the Bucks, they force a turnover, they get a trap, they get out and run. They don't get any points off of that turnover. And that's been the issue, too, for Charleston Southern. They just haven't shot the ball well. They're 10 for 33 from the floor, just 30%. And really, Christian Keeling shot the ball well. No one else has done much offensively.
And that knocked out of bounds. I thought it looked like Thomas had gotten a foot on it, but Lysander Last to touch it, said Roger Ayers, the official on the baseline. The only benefit when they turn it over like that, it gives them an opportunity to set up their press and create havoc. And Shelton Mitchell just committing the 12th turnover for the Tigers. Clemson still below the pace that Charleston Southern forces. They force 21.3 a game, second in all of the nation in Division I. Keeling, we saw a lot of that kind of forced shot, and many of them went in the opening half. First time he's gotten that kind of look here since the break.
And that's a really tough look for Keeling to shoot that floater over the 6'9" Eli Thomas.
Scarra the feed. Thomas went for the jam, and the foul will be called.
David Scarra was trying to give off his 6th assist. A really good pass. He drew the double team and found his big man.
Timmy Sellers, a freshman, committing his second. That's the third on the Buccaneers team here in our second half. Tigers won so far. Elijah Thomas doing lots of good things tonight. 21 points. Now 6 out of 9 from the line.
And that is really an area that Eli Thomas has improved. He's become much more reliable from the free throw line. 71% entering this game. And he draws so many fouls inside. That has to be something he worked on the offseason because he knows he's going to get to the line.
7 out of 10 on free throws, 23 points in the game. The Tigers senior out of Dallas, who no doubt will have an added interest in Clemson's upcoming Cotton Bowl. Schuler inside. Great job to strip it away by Tyson. Just 3 blocks on the year coming in for Tyson, but he looked like a skilled veteran then.
I know it counts as a block, and it was, but that was a straight-up takeaway. He just said, give me the ball. What a play.
Trapp looking for Scarra, but he gives it up. Taken away by Lysander. Lysander 15 steals on the year as the night began. And foot on the line as the ball went over to McConaughey, and the senior with the turnover.
And Hunter Tyson, he gets the block initially and then just takes the ball. It's a strong defensive play. I've been impressed by Tyson's defense. He comes in known for his scoring, known for his shooting, but he's rebounded the ball and he's held his own on defense so far in his young career.
You can take a page out of David Scarra's book. When Scarra became eligible last year, Brad Brownell will tell you that he pretty much focused on defense and rebounding. He knew he had enough scoring, and I think perhaps Tyson is following that same edict. Runner by Clyde Trapp, sophomore guard out of Columbia, and Trapp his first points of the night.
That was a great skip pass by Shelton Mitchell. He was looking at Tyson the whole time, but passed it up to Trapp.
28-point advantage after Clemson led by 8 at the break. Forced by Keeling. Good job by Scarra not to commit the foul and not touch the ball, and out of bounds it goes. Back over to Clemson.
Here's a look at Clemson breaking the press. He was looking at Tyson, but passed it up to Clyde Trapp. And just that little caveat with the pass. You look off the defender, it gives Clyde Trapp that much more space to make a play.
Ty Jones, a sophomore, Pontotoc, Mississippi, defending the inbound play. Jones, a great scorer in high school, over 2,000 points and nearly 1,000 rebounds as a high school player, averaging 5.7 a game. This is his second year in the Buccaneers program. At that time, the inbound to Trapp. Good experience now for Trapp, doing a lot of the ball handling, and it's a role he needs to grow in this season.
They wanted him to be that backup point guard to Shelton Mitchell, but of course you don't anticipate the injury to Reed, where Trapp's going to have to handle the ball.
Scarra. Elijah Thomas, a good hustle to get in there for the offensive board, but it goes off his leg out of bounds.
And Eli Thomas already with a double-double in this game, now 12 rebounds to go with his 23 points.
Thomas, 3 double-doubles on the season coming into the game. He's coming most recently against St. Peter's. This time Keeling trying to take it right to the 6'8" Scarra. And Christian Keeling getting his first field goal and first points of the second half. He now has 21. Scarra the hesitation, and when he did, he palmed the ball.
And here's Christian Keeling. It can be tough when you're a guard like Keeling and you don't really have that second guy right now that can give you points. That would be Flanders Fleming, who's on the bench for Charleston Southern, but he's had to do so much tonight for the Buccaneers offensively.
Keeling the step back with white in his face, and that's going to count as a long two. So 4 quick points by Christian Keeling, but the lead remains significant for Clemson at 24.
Another good job by the Tigers to break that press.
Trapp as Keeling hit the deck. Clyde Trapp showing you a little bit of Christian Keeling with that step back jumper. And one of the rare misses here in the second half for Clemson.
And you can see the difference in both teams offensively. Charleston Southern playing a lot of one-on-one ball with Keeling. Clemson moving the ball a lot more.
Keeling runs it down. They'll set it up. Sean Price had it. 15 on the shot clock as Keeling looked things over. Now Schuler. Step back by Schuler, and he's in double figures with 10.
And Schuler's been solid for Charleston Southern, 10 points off the bench as a freshman. But again, what was that play? It was one-on-one. It was create your own shot. The Buccaneers still have not recorded an assist in this game.
And Schuler has come along in his freshman season. Mitchell driving on Schuler off the glass. Shelton Mitchell, who reached 1,000 points in his career, now has a dozen in the game. He reached 1,000 points earlier tonight. Here's Schuler on the other end. Quick response by Schuler. Back to a 22-point advantage for the Tigers.
And credit Charleston Southern. They're still staying in this trap. That time more of a three-quarter court press, but they're not going to get away from what they do.
That was interesting. Brad Brownell commenting on the fact that the way Charleston Southern plays, they really take the opposing coach's decision-making out of it. Clyde Trapp, though, a good choice to go to the bucket, and he'll head to the line and shoot a free throw when play continues. But the frenetic pace, really, Brad Brownell says, it counts on players to make plays. Charleston Southern hoping to get many more plays like that down the stretch out of freshman Dontrell Schuler. They're down big.
These young guards for Clemson have been called upon to make plays and to step up, and one of those is Clyde Trapp. A good attack here and a finish with contact for the and one.
Clyde Trapp, one of those guys Brad Brownell would have to step up tonight in a frenetic kind of ball game against an opponent that, well, traps quite a bit and also uses full court pressure. Brad Brownell, a win tonight gives him 157 at the helm of Clemson. It would put him in second place all time on the Tigers list, move him ahead of Bill Foster. As we welcome you back into Littlejohn, and Clyde Trapp looking to complete the three-point play and add to his night. And he now has 5 points in the ball game. Trapp, the freshman out of Lower Richland in Columbia, at 62% this year on free throws. Little alley-oop lob that time, but Buskey beyond the intended target. Bowser, but right back come the Buccaneers. McConaughey the steal. I'm surprised they don't try to score more quickly when they make a steal. That time, though, they'll take it out of Duncan Lysander, who had struggled tonight, but he's able to get in the scoring column. He's now 1 out of 8 from the field, 1 out of 4 beyond the arc. But it seems like a team that presses like they do and does create steals and forces 21 turnovers a game would try to get their scoring percentage off those turnovers higher by quickly taking shots.
And I think they've struggled a bit in that regard. Clemson's gotten back on defense pretty well tonight, but the big issue for Charleston Southern, they've taken some quick shots. They just haven't made them. They've struggled from the field, just 35%.
Mitchell off the dribble. Hanging toward the basket, Shelton Mitchell building on another good game. He now has 14 points. Other day against Radford, he had a 20-point game. You can see, though, as they inserted Nate Lewis into the game for the first time to run the point. He feeds underneath Lysander, who finds Bowser. And Bowser, the Gaffney native, playing back in the upstate in the scoring column for the first time. They're picked 5th in their conference, and they're going to be a tough out in the Big South because they play unlike just about every other team in their league.
There's no Eli Thomases in the Big South. Ed Polite Jr., who we saw from Radford, a really good post inside, but no one has that size, and I think Eli Thomas's size has bothered Charleston Southern tonight.
Dangerous pass that time. Buccaneers make him pay, and this should be a quick score. Pass ahead, Buskey, and he'll gently put it up and in, and what do you know? Doesn't get easier than that. It rattled out, no good. Something they could ill afford.
I think he thought about the dunk. He decided not to do the dunk mid-jump, and then he missed the bunny. And that is a tough play for Buskey.
I have a feeling he's about to head to the bench based on the fact that Keeling has come to the scorer's table. Mitchell again. At that time, and the rebound taken down by McConaughey.
Clemson 4 for 6 from beyond the arc in the second half.
McConaughey, Lewis. And Sims takes the rebound off the floor.
Clemson doing a better job guarding the three so far in this game. Charleston Southern under 40%. The Tiger opponents right now are shooting about 40% from three. That has to improve, and Coach Brownell's talked to us about that. I think Clemson has guarded the three in this game better than they have in many of the previous contests.
Scar, a quick pass, but he throws it away. The turnovers for the Tigers mounting now, getting close to 20 in the game. Not necessarily unexpected for Brad Brownell coming in. It was just what they would do with the ball when they weren't turning it over, and they've been pretty effective in that regard. McConaughey coming into the game is just 26% beyond the arc.
Good box out by Shelton Mitchell to box out the bigger Bowser and grab that rebound. Brownell encouraging his team to run the play all the way through, run some clock. When you have a lead like this, you want to run that shot clock, but still get a good shot.
Off the crossover and spin, trap, and it was last touched by Charleston Southern. Tigers will have the ball with just 4 on the shot clock when play resumes. Charleston Southern trying to get back in this game, but trailing by 22.
Duncan Lysander for 3. A big 3 for Charleston Southern. And then here's Shelton Mitchell with a floater/jumper. Not quite sure what that was, but I know it went in. Clemson up big.
It's the ACC on ESPN. Clemson Tigers looking to make it an 8th win on the season in this, their 11th game in 2018 and 19. Final home game before Christmas. One more non-conference home game. That's on December 30th against Lipscomb. Well, that's a fellow who has a connection to a very important story in the ACC basketball past. We showed you earlier, that's Thomas Butters. He's a Clemson alum and the grandson of former Duke athletic director Tom Butters, who in the early 80s hired a coach away from West Point named Mike Krzyzewski. As Sims tries to stay perfect on the night and can't, out of bounds, Clemson will keep it. Well, Tom Butters, athletic director Duke, hires Coach K. Coach K inherits a veteran team with Eugene Banks and Kenny Denard, takes him to the NIT, but then next couple of seasons, Duke is struggling. Mike Krzyzewski, as the story goes, as Coach K has told it, goes into Tom Butters' office and says, you know what, maybe I'm not the right guy for this job. Maybe you need to go find somebody else. And Tom Butters, granddad of the assistant coach for Charleston Southern, says, nope, just ride the storm out. You recruited well. You got a good young crop. You just brought in a group that included Johnny Dawkins and Tommy Amaker. And as they say, the rest is the rest. And the granddad of the assistant coach for Charleston Southern, certainly with those calming words, helped impact what would be the next 35 years of how basketball would play out in the ACC.
No doubt about that. It is fascinating to think certain coaches back in the 80s and whatnot might have not made it in this current climate with how many years they used to give coaches to rebuild programs.
And there was Bill Foster, one of 2 Bill Fosters that coached in the state of South Carolina. We've mentioned one tonight, the one that was at Clemson, but when the Bill Foster who would end up at South Carolina left Duke, he had taken them to the national title game in 1978, in which if Jack Gibbons hadn't been playing that night, Duke probably would have won, but had built a really nice team with Jim Spanarkel, Mike Jaminski, Banks, and Denard, and others, and then he bolted for a better contract to South Carolina, and I think Duke folks were thinking, hire another experienced coach. Well, Mike Krzyzewski had done well at Army with a team that was never that big, but they've been very competitive. But I don't think necessarily the Duke fan base was sold on that hire initially when it happened. Out of bounds, will stay in Charleston Southern's end.
It's hard for me, Pete, to imagine a world where a Duke basketball coach would leave for South Carolina for greener pastures.
Yeah.
That
and
kind
you
of blows
don't
my
mention
mind.
that under the dome of the rivalry.
No,
and
not at all. Just as a
these days the Duke
observer.
job. I mean, everyone's wondering right now. It's a conversation that comes up now every year that Coach K's gotten up there in the years. Is that who is going to be the successor? They'll probably keep it in the family. If Jeff Capel gets a nice run going now at Pitt and get another head coaching opportunity for him, is he going to be the guy, or could it be Amaker? And so the Duke job has become one of the elite jobs. 10 on the shot clock. Price hanging out with it out high. And out of bounds it goes, back over to the Tigers. A Clemson team that, as we noted, is trying to take care of business tonight and has done what a lot of folks thought they would do. They've taken care of business against the mid-majors. Some pesky efforts out of St. Peter's and Radford's in a couple of previous home games. Trapp having a good second half. Can't get that one to fall. Battle for the rebound. Thomas, not only grabbed it with the hustle, but put an exclamation point on the end of it. And he is closing in on his career high. He's 1 point away. Now has 25.
Eli Thomas has done such a good job of rebounding the ball tonight. 14 rebounds for him. That's a season high. And those lead to easy buckets.
Jones backing in on Trapp. Underneath the feed, but it is knocked away from Sellers. Elijah Thomas having a great night, and you see just that added boost of energy since he's gotten over being injured and really gotten back in shape. That's been the Eli Thomas everyone's been seeing, and you know what? Look how happy he is about how he's been feeling physically.
He really looks healthy, and he wasn't in those first couple games, but these last 4 or 5 games, he's looked like a completely different player than he did previously. He's looked like his last year self, but even with an added improvement.
Jones with a nice move, going over top of John Newman. Ty Jones has 4 points in the game, and the Tiger lead remains sizable.
And we know Charleston Southern known for forcing turnovers. One of the keys tonight is that Clemson has forced turnovers. They forced Charleston Southern into 19 turnovers, have scored 20 points off of those.
Trapp kicks to Newman, and John Newman hitting the tray. John Newman coming into the ball game just 1 out of 9 in the early going in his Clemson career beyond 3-point range. That's his first one in 2 tries tonight.
That's a good sign for the freshman. The more you can score in game situations, the more confident you get, and they need John Newman to come along more as they get into ACC play.
Big expectations, 4-star player out of Greensboro, North Carolina's Greensboro Day. Another empty possession for Charleston Southern, under 4 minutes to go. Oh, Sims thought about an NBA three. He's been stroking him from beyond the arc tonight. Contact away from the ball, and they're about to get Darius Bowser on another foul. That'll be the 6th in the second half on the Charleston Southern team.
And here's that big bucket from the freshman, John Newman in the corner. Clemson leads big in Littlejohn.
You know, it's kind of getting close to bedtime, but she is ready to go and anxious, and she sees maybe a freebie, a t-shirt or something being tossed her way. She's lining up on the receiving end. Tigers playing their 3rd to last non-conference game, and so far, Brad Brownell and company have played a very impressive group coming into the ball game tonight. The opponents Clemson has met so far combined 59 and 43 on the season. That includes the Mississippi State team that has just 1 loss so far. Of course, Clemson with a win against Georgia out of the SEC, down in that tournament in the Bahamas, and a very good MAC team, Akron. Right now, the official taking a look at the last 3-pointer to make sure it was good for 3. And Newman, it would be the 2nd made 3 of his collegiate career. And I think they verified it was a 3.
We couldn't see his left foot with that angle. I think that's the one that they were focusing on.
Yeah. Tigers inbound, 20 on the shot clock. It is confirmed as a made 3-pointer. Trapp looked over toward Tyson and said White losing the handle, and Price coming away with it for Charleston Southern.
And Clemson averaging just 12.5 turnovers a game. That's 20 now for the Tigers. Credit Charleston Southern's pressure, but a few ill-advised passes in there as well.
Halfway down the lane, Price has it knocked away by Tyson, who almost inadvertently knocked it into the opponent's hoop. Good scrappy play tonight out of Hunter Tyson, and his role is going to have to increase. We've got to stop and play. And on the other end of the court, you see Sean Price, who was just very active, appears to have taken a shot to the face. Sophomore out of Port Charlotte, Florida, down on the Gulf Coast. And I believe that they are pointing out a tooth may have been lost. And that is apparently what happened. So, oof. Now you hope it's perhaps a replaceable tooth and it just came out, but he obviously is in a great deal of pain. It is a physical game, is basketball. It is truly a contact sport, not a collision sport. Or at least the collisions aren't supposed to happen, but more of a contact sport than you would think. And now they're looking for his tooth. And I remember back in the day, and I don't see it as much anymore in watching basketball games, how often in any basketball game I would watch, every other game it seemed like there was a stop and play because somebody lost a contact lens. In fact, when Phil Jackson was in the NBA as a player, it seemed like every game he played for the Knicks, he lost a contact lens. They had to have a stop and play to look for one of Phil Jackson's contact lenses. You don't see that anymore. You rarely see a player, now I don't know if they've come up with a better contact lens, if players have just gotten away from it, but I was thinking about that the other day. You never see a player lose a contact lens in a basketball game like you used to, at the rate that you used to.
That's a good point. And you rarely see a player lose a tooth like that.
That's true. That's even rarer. And doesn't the American Dental Association appreciate that? Tyson unable to finish. Look at White scrapping inside. The good rebounder who came in from Oral Roberts this year, and he'll go to the line.
And that's what Javen White brings to this team. He's playing under 10 minutes a game, but he's still grabbing nearly 3 rebounds per game in that time. And he's a tenacious rebounder, and you saw that right there.
Last season he had a 20 rebound game for Oral Roberts against Arkansas Little Rock. And White with the free throw, getting into the scoring column. Obviously some players who haven't had their minutes all that sizable so far this year, getting some extended playing time. That guy especially, and we're going to see a long attempt by Tyson, grazing the rim, and a foul inside. It'll go against Newman.
This has been a good game for just game experience for both Hunter Tyson and John Newman. John Newman playing 22 minutes and Hunter Tyson 17. And again, when you're a freshman, the more you play, you can get comfortable in practice, but that doesn't necessarily translate to in-game situations.
Trey Jemison, the freshman out of Birmingham, Alabama, the 7-footer, in for the first time tonight, just checking in. The Tigers getting ready for the rivalry showdown Saturday at 2 at Colonial Life Arena in Columbia. And I know that the fans will try to make plans to be there, especially those in the Midlands. Moore just checked in. Can't hit his first shot attempt. It's Jameer Moore coming up empty. Contact, and they'll get Schuler on the foul. Schuler, one of 2 Buccaneer players in double figures with 12 points. Obviously noteworthy that Christian Keeling, who had 19 first half points, leading scorer for the Buccaneers, is holding at 23. And I don't believe he's had all that many shot attempts either in the second half.
For a volume scorer, he's really shot the ball well. 8 of 13 from the floor. He's been very efficient, and 5 for 6 from 3.
Further the point I was making in the opening half, Keeling was 6 out of 8, so it was 2 out of 5 in the second half. By Trapp, coming off an 11-point effort against Radford, and now the Tigers sophomore in our contest tonight with 7 points. Keeling with Newman committing the foul, just the 4th in the second half against the Clemson team.
Clemson has not committed many fouls in this game at all, and as a result, Charleston Southern has only shot 7 free throws. They've made 6 of them, so that's the one place that they've really shot the ball well this evening, but haven't found a way to get to the line.
Keeling. He's got the 6'10" White to go around. He does, and then over the 7-footer Jemison. Christian Keeling, a 25-point night for him. His career high came most recently against Middle Tennessee on the road, 33. The second time in his career he'd reached that number. And a foul this time on the reach-in against Jameer Moore.
Here's
nice
that
drive
play
to the basket
from Christian Keeling, exactly. Attacking the basket, absorbing contact as he has done all evening. And we've seen both guys, Keeling with 25, Eli Thomas with 25. We mentioned that Keeling's been efficient, 9 of 14 from the field. It's taken Eli Thomas just 12 shots from the field to score 25 points. That is pretty impressive to be 9 of 12 from the floor. He's been very efficient inside.
Xander getting his shoe tied, so Newman at the line. His first trip there tonight, 3 out of 6 in his Clemson career, now 4 out of 7. John Newman played on a high school team at Greensboro Day that was a 3-time state champion. 1 out of 2 on that trip.
And that's something you can't coach when it comes to your freshmen. If they come in as a winner, if they've won in high school, that's definitely an added bonus.
Brad Brownell encouraging his team with his defensive play. Schuler, though, again, they've got 2 guys who can break you down as well as anyone we've seen from an opponent this year. Similar to the guards we saw with St. Peter's, frankly, a couple of weeks ago. And nearly a turnover, maybe because Trapp perhaps the last to touch it. And I believe as Roger Ayers came over, waiting for the indication.
Here's that Schuler pull-up. 14 points for Dontrell Schuler off the bench for Charleston Southern.
And I'm still not sure whose ball it's supposed to be because I guess it's going to be Clemson's ball as Charleston Southern showing the full court pressure. Parker Fox and Lyles Davis have checked in with 1:12 to go. With Parker some really good basketball ties to coaching. His dad, the former head coach of Georgia and Nevada. Mark Fox, it's Charleston Southern's ball rather, as Trapp was the last touch it, but then a giveaway by Jameer Moore, and back over to the Tigers it goes. Clemson, which had gone through a stretch of games in which they cracked the 70-point barrier, now in back-to-back games on the winning side they've gotten past 70 points. They did score 71 in the loss to Mississippi State after they lived in the 60s for a couple of ball games. Fox banks it in from the side. Wow!
Using the backboard from beyond the arc, Parker Fox.
How do you like that? His first points as a Clemson Tiger, memorable indeed. That's a native of Pickens, Nathan Payne, going to the line, and he'll get a moment where folks can stare at him shooting free throws. Parker Fox, though, the man of the moment.
I'm not sure if he meant to bank this, but that doesn't matter. The ball went through the net. That's all that matters, and Parker Fox with his first points as a Tiger.
So Nathan Payne, just like the starting center, Sedarius Bowser, who's from Gaffney in the upstate. Payne from just down the road from this very county where Clemson sits, and perhaps the nerves of being back close to home. I saw his high school coach here, who's currently getting some video of him on his phone. And 1 out of 2, so if you're going to airball the first, at least a twist the second, and that time Fox throwing it away as Tyson went one way and the ball the other. And the game clock had started, apparently by the official, not by the very deft and veteran and skilled shot clock operators that work this game and work under a union wage from what we understand for the good work they do at the scorer's table. Xander able to get it into the corner. Schuler feeding, nice find, and unable to finish underneath though. That time was Sellers. So we've seen Fox come off the bench and score. The folks here in Littlejohn now want to see Lyles Davis add to his Clemson career point total. Under 10 to go, but I believe Brad Brownell is simply going to have him dribble it out, and that they will. Tigers about to go 19-0 all-time in the series against Charleston Southern as they complete a 78-51 victory. Congratulations, Brad Brownell, now second all-time in wins at Clemson as he picks up number 157 at the helm of the Tigers. In his career, he's creeping close to 325, now at 323. Tigers improved 8-3 on the year. A fifth consecutive loss for the Buccaneers. 5 in a row dropped, and they dropped to 4-7 on the season.
Two really impressive offensive performances today. Keeling with 25 for Charleston Southern, and the big man inside, Eli Thomas, 25 points on just 12 shots. Clemson shoots the ball really well, also knocks down 6 threes.
All kinds of ways to make you feel seasonal, both visually and audibly. Tigers now get ready for the big rivalry showdown in Columbia on Saturday. Back home here on the 30th of December against Lipscomb. Win number 8 in the books for the Tigers. For Kelly Gramlich, Pete Hannity saying so long from Littlejohn. This has been a presentation of ESPN.